If you asked Marlene how she ended up scrubbing marble tiles for a living, she'd tell you it all began with a man and a lie. The man, of course, was her ex-husband, a charming, lazy bastard who convinced her to quit nursing school and build a home. The lie? That housework was noble and unpaid labor was empowering. Fast forward 10 years and she was elbow deep in someone else's toilet, wearing rubber gloves and an exhausted smile. Marlene worked for the Davenports, old money, new scandals, and all the arrogance of people who thought money made them interesting. The mansion was massive, with cold stone floors, glass stairs, and too many unused rooms. Everything sparkled. On the outside. Inside, Marlene saw it all. There was Mrs. Davenport, who took afternoon naps, but actually drank Chardonnay in the sunroom and cried over her husband's affairs. Mr. Davenport, a silver-haired CEO with too much Botox and a thing for his assistant, who wore pencil skirts so tight, they squeaked. And then there was Chloe, the spoiled daughter with a black credit card and no soul. She once asked Marlene if poor people could get pedicures, or did their toes just rot off? She giggled after asking as if her words didn't sting like acid. But Marlene? She didn't say a word. She swallowed her rage, like she always did. Until Thursday. That Thursday started like any other. Marlene arrived at 7 a.m., wearing her usual khakis and navy polo. She slipped into her cleaning shoes and headed to the kitchen. But instead of her normal checklist, Mrs. Davenport handed her a thick envelope and said, "We're letting you go." Just like that. No warning. No reason. No thank you. "I don't understand," Marlene said, her voice trembling. "Oh, come now," Mrs. Davenport sighed, as if Marlene were a stray cat they had to kick off the porch. "We just don't think you're the right fit anymore." Marlene opened the envelope. Severance. 1 week's pay. After 3 years of loyalty. She bit the inside of her cheeks so hard she tasted blood. As she turned to leave, she noticed something, Mr. Davenport's jacket on the coat rack. But his assistant's earring lay on the foyer floor. A diamond stud. She took it. Quietly. Slipped it into her pocket. Her first confession? She didn't feel guilty. Her second? She wasn't done. By the time she walked out of the gates, Marlene had a plan. And it wasn't pretty. Because when you fire a woman who knows all your dirty secrets, your bank passwords, your mistress's perfume, your daughter's rehab receipts, you don't just fire a housekeeper. You awaken a storm. Marlene sat on the cracked leather sofa in her apartment, sipping cheap red wine from a chipped mug. She had worn the same navy polo shirt for 3 years. Now, it felt like a uniform from a war she didn't know she'd lost. But she wasn't crying. No, crying was for the powerless. And Marlene wasn't powerless anymore. On the coffee table lay her revenge notebook. A dusty pink spiral, once used to track her budget. Now it was a weapon. She flipped through pages. March 12th, Chloe passed out on the bathroom floor. Pills? Vodka? Who knows? April 3rd, Mrs. D lied to the gardener about her weekend spa trip. She was at a motel with Enrique, the Pilates trainer. April 19th, Mr. D fired the cook for stealing wine. Meanwhile, he was charging strippers to the family card. Marlene had been silent all these years. Smiling. Nodding. Cleaning up the messes, literal and emotional. But the Davenports had underestimated her. They thought she was invisible. Just another uniform with a mop. Well, she saw everything. And dust never lies. That night she made 3 calls. First, to Tina, the ex-nanny who got fired for inappropriate behavior, aka for catching Mr. Davenport in a towel with his hands on someone who wasn't his wife. Second, to Jamal, the gay gardener who heard everything, saw everything and was always paid late. Third, to Brenda, a local gossip blogger who would kill for juicy content. Marlene wasn't going down quietly. If the Davenports wanted war, they were about to get scorched. By Friday morning, Marlene had slipped into a disguise, fitted slacks, bright red lipstick, and confidence. She walked into the country club like she owned it. Because why not? She'd cleaned enough of their toilets, now it was time to scrub their reputations. She spotted Mrs. Davenport having brunch with 2 other Botox blondes. Marlene dropped something on their table, a USB drive. Inside it? A collection of photos, voice memos, and a spreadsheet labeled, "Lies That Built Your Mansion." She didn't say a word. Just winked and walked away. By Saturday, the whispers had started. Sunday, Brenda's blog exploded. Perfect family, dirty secrets. Inside the crumbling walls of the Davenports. The story had everything: a cheating CO, a drunk socialite, a bratty heiress, and a fired housekeeper who knew too much. Twitter ate it up. Instagram memes followed. Someone even made a TikTok of Chloe falling out of a Range Rover, face first. Marlene watched it all with her feet up, sipping from a fresh bottle of wine. Finally, someone was seeing the truth. Not the polished marble floors. Not the $1,000,000 facade. But the rot underneath. And she wasn't finished yet. Because if they thought firing her would erase her, they were about to learn something. You can fire the help, but you can't silence the witness. It was noon on Monday when Chloe Davenport stormed into her family's estate like a hurricane in Gucci slides. "What the hell is this?" she shrieked, waving her phone like it had personally offended her. "I'm a meme, Daddy." Mr. Davenport was nursing a bourbon at the bar, and Mrs. Davenport hadn't come out of her bedroom since the blog post dropped. Chloe stomped past the house manager, who looked like he wanted to vanish into a vase, and threw herself onto the couch. "Do you know how embarrassing it is to be trending for falling out of a car? Like, why didn't anyone edit my angle?" No one answered. Because everyone was trying to figure out who leaked everything. Mr. Davenport blamed the cook. Mrs. Davenport blamed Chloe. Chloe blamed TikTok. But no one suspected Marlene. Meanwhile, Marlene was 2 blocks away in a modest cafe, sitting across from Tina, the ex-nanny with a sharp bob and sharper memory. "Tell me everything you remember," Marlene said, pen poised over her notebook. "Oh, honey," Tina laughed, sipping her iced coffee. "Do you want the PG version or the one with handcuffs and avocado oil?" Marlene didn't even blink. "The one that burns." Tina grinned. "Good girl." Back at the Davenport house, Chloe's chaos was just beginning. She'd gone live on Instagram, in full meltdown mode. "I just want to say this whole situation is so unfair," she sobbed into the front camera. "Like, yes, I hooked up with a football team once, but it was college. That's what college is for." The internet responded exactly as Marlene hoped. Hashtags spread like wildfire. Hashtag Davenport downfall. Hashtag mansionibus. Hashtag pray for the pool boy. But what really sent the family spinning was when a local news station picked up Brenda's blog. A reporter stood outside the Davenport gates like it was a crime scene. Chloe threw a shoe at him. It missed. Mr. Davenport called his lawyer. The lawyer called a crisis PR team. The PR team called in sick. And in the middle of it all, Marlene calmly folded her laundry. She was patient. Deliberate. She hadn't even used the big guns yet. In her notebook were secrets no one else knew, things she'd kept hidden even from Tina. Because she needed the family rattled, shaken, on the edge. But not broken. Not yet. See, Marlene wasn't here for petty payback. She was here for transformation. She wanted to turn the Davenports into a cautionary tale. To peel off their perfect masks and show the world the dysfunction beneath the diamonds. So when Brenda called and asked, "Got anything hotter?" Marlene smiled. "I've got recordings," she said. "And receipts." Chloe, meanwhile, was Googling how to hire a hacker to erase the internet. But the internet never forgets. And neither did Marlene. By Wednesday, Brenda's blog had gone viral again. The headline read, "The Housekeeper Files, Davenport Dynasty or Dumpster Fire?" And just below that, a blurry audio clip where you could clearly hear Mr. Davenport yelling, "If Chloe brings home another influencer with glitter in his beard, I'm moving into the guest house." That was only the beginning. Brenda had posted a day-by-day breakdown of Marlene's journal entries, complete with snarky commentary, leaked texts, and something she called the Davenport timeline of tragedy. Marlene was both horrified and delighted. She hadn't told Brenda to publish it all, but deep down, she wasn't mad. Not one bit. Overnight, #MansionLeaks trended on X, formerly Twitter. TikTok was full of dramatic reenactments. One girl even did a full dance routine dressed as Chloe having a breakdown. The Davenports were drowning in chaos, and Marlene was just getting started. Inside the mansion, things were unraveling. Mr. Davenport locked himself in the wine cellar with a Bluetooth speaker blaring Kenny G. Mrs. Davenport started live streaming crystal readings and accidentally summoned a tarot reader who never left. Chloe, bless her glittery soul, fired back with a tell-all vlog. "I'm a survivor," she sobbed between cuts of her applying lip gloss. "This isn't just drama. This is like spiritual warfare." She then accused Brenda of media terrorism and announced she was starting a podcast called Healing in Heels. The comments section was brutal. Marlene watched it all with a calm cup of tea, legs crossed on her modest couch. She was never in the frame. That was the power of anonymity. Everyone was too busy blaming each other to notice the woman who used to scrub their bathtubs had weaponized their own dirt against them. Then the doorbell rang. It was Detective Monica Reyes, sharp eyes, red lipstick, and an attitude that said, "I don't do nonsense." "We've had complaints," she said, flipping her notebook open. "Anonymous tips, suspicious activity. Care to comment?" Marlene smiled sweetly. "Would you like some tea, detective?" Monica raised an eyebrow. "Only if it's piping hot." They sat in silence as Marlene poured her a cup. Then Monica got to the point. "We've traced several leaks and posts back to a burner email connected to this address." Marlene blinked. "Oh, I don't suppose you're Dusty Secrets 42? Marlene sipped her tea. "I'm just a fired housekeeper," she said with a shrug. "What would I know?" Monica narrowed her eyes. "If you're lying, I'll find out." "I'm counting on it." After the detective left, Marlene opened her laptop. There were 6 new emails from whistleblowers, other staff from elite homes, gardeners, chefs, private tutors, all of them ready to talk. Marlene stared at the screen. It wasn't just about the Davenports anymore. This was turning into a movement. She picked up her phone and called Brenda. "New title," she said. "Call it Confessions of the Rich and Reckless." Brenda had barely finished updating the blog with Marlene's new title when the internet exploded, again. But this time, it wasn't just gossip-hungry followers. It was the rich themselves. Anonymous emails started flooding in. A live-in butler from Beverly Hills claimed his billionaire boss slept in a race car bed. A private chef from Miami revealed a famous tech mogul made him slice grapes into quarters, vertically. A French nanny from Chicago sent audio clips of her employer's wife practicing fake crying before interviews. Marlene sat on her couch, popcorn in one hand, laptop in the other, as the inbox swelled with chaos. "Brenda," she said on speaker, "this is bigger than just me. These housekeepers, nannies, butlers, they've all been treated like dirt. But they've seen everything." Brenda cackled from the other end. "We're like the Illuminati, but with bleach stains and receipts." The blog now had a new section, Secrets Below the Stairs, a safe space for service workers to anonymously submit their stories. And oh, they did. Within 48 hours, their following doubled. The Davenports? Tripled in dysfunction. Mr. Davenport attempted a public apology on live television. He stood in front of his mansion, hair slicked back, suit too tight, blinking like a hostage. "I am deeply sorry if our family has offended anyone. We respect our staff and—" Suddenly, Chloe burst into frame, wrapped in a velvet robe, holding a ferret. "She's lying," she screamed. "That Dusty witch hacked our lives." The ferret jumped out of her arms and climbed the cameraman's leg. The live stream cut immediately. Marlene nearly fell off the couch laughing. She didn't feel guilty. Not one bit. They had fired her because she was too opinionated and made Chloe uncomfortable. Now, her voice was the most powerful thing on the internet. But not everyone was thrilled. Her old coworker, Letitia, who still worked at the Davenports, called her in a panic. "Girl, they're sniffing around. Mr. D hired a private investigator. He thinks it's you." Marlene paused. "I thought Chloe said it was aliens." "Yeah, but her theories change every 45 minutes. Marlene wasn't scared. She was furious. "They can't come after me for telling the truth." Letitia lowered her voice. "I know, but they're getting desperate. Be careful." That night, someone slashed her car tires. She didn't flinch. She poured a glass of cheap wine, lit her $4 lavender candle, and typed faster. She was no longer just a fired housekeeper. She was the voice of every silenced maid. The following morning, Good Morning America called. "We'd love to interview you." Anonymously, of course. Brenda screamed when she heard. Marlene, calm and composed, just nodded. "Time to polish the truth," she said. "And maybe iron a nice hoodie." The moment Marlene stepped into the studio for her anonymous interview, everything felt surreal. Her curls were tucked into a hoodie, sunglasses large enough to make her look like a bug, and Brenda had dabbed concealer under her eyes like she was hiding state secrets. "Smile like you just exposed a cult," Brenda whispered. Marlene grinned. "I kinda did." The lights flashed, cameras rolled, and the anchor leaned in with a smile. "Viewers are calling you the modern-day Robin Hood of domestic workers." What sparked this? Marlene kept her voice low and steady. "I was fired for doing my job too well. For speaking up. But I realized I wasn't alone. There's an army of us behind the scenes, cleaning up after the rich while they treat us like wallpaper." The segment aired, and it went viral. That night, her followers skyrocketed. Journalists reached out. Influencers started quoting her captions. Even an indie clothing brand made hoodies that read, "Made. Not mute." But with the fame came a trap. A sleek black car pulled up to her apartment the next day. A chauffeur stepped out holding a note. "Miss Marlene, you've made your point. Let's talk this out." "D." Brenda gasped. "He signed it with just D? He's going full Bond villain." "I'm not scared," Marlene muttered, folding the note. "But I'm definitely going." The address led to a high-rise penthouse. Crystal chandeliers, a view of the skyline, and a disturbing number of taxidermy foxes. Chloe was already there, sipping champagne with a smirk. "I admire your little rebellion," she purred. "But Daddy says it's time to make it disappear." Marlene laughed. "Honey, the only thing disappearing is your dignity." Mr. Davenport appeared, wearing a designer robe and fake humility. "Let's make a deal. You pull the blog and we forget all this happened. I'll even recommend you to other families. Big names." Marlene sipped the offered champagne, then set it down. "I don't want your deals. I want your downfall." Then she turned and walked straight into his massive closet, lined with fur coats, private diaries, and cameras. She snapped pictures of everything. Hidden mics. Logs of staff movements. A creepy folder labeled disciplinary files. "Oh, you're sick," she whispered. "And you're done." Chloe burst in, shrieking. "You went through our things. That's illegal." "So is stalking your staff," Marlene snapped. Then she pulled out her phone, smiled sweetly, and live-streamed. "Say hi to the internet, Chloe." Screams. Chaos. The driver ran after her. Brenda's voice yelled through Marlene's earbuds, "Girl, get out." She made it back to the elevator just as Mr. Davenport roared from down the hall. That night, her blog broke records. Thousands more submitted anonymous horror stories. The Davenports? Trending, for all the wrong reasons. And Marlene? She was done hiding. The next morning, Marlene woke up to a flood of notifications. Her phone buzzed like a nightclub speaker. Tweets, DMs, emails. The entire internet was on fire. Hashtag Davenport Exposed was trending worldwide. She sipped her coffee, a small smile tugging at her lips. For the first time in months, she felt like she was winning. But victory had its price. Her phone rang. A known number. She hesitated, then answered. "Miss Marlene, this is Agent Collins with Internal Affairs. We're opening an investigation into the Davenport household. Your evidence has been compelling." Marlene's heart skipped. "You believe me?" "We believe everyone deserves justice. Keep all communications confidential. And be careful." The line went dead. Marlene stared at her phone, her mind racing. The power shift was happening, but so was the danger. Later that day, her doorbell rang. She opened the door to find a delivery, a bouquet of roses and a note. "You made me lose, but I'm not done yet. Watch your back. D." Marlene crushed the note and tossed the flowers into the trash. Bring it on. Her phone beeped again. This time, a message from an unknown number. Want to meet? I have information you'll want. Marlene debated. Trust a stranger? Or was this another setup? She replied simply, where? That evening, under the yellow streetlights of a quiet cafe, a man sat waiting. Tall, sharp eyes and a briefcase. He slid it across the table. I'm Jason. I worked for the Davenports before you were hired. He opened the case, revealing a folder thick with documents and photos, proof of illegal surveillance, bribery, even payoffs to silence workers. Use this wisely. The fight's bigger than you think. Marlene nodded. I'm ready. As she left the cafe, she noticed a shadow following her. Heart pounding, she quickened her pace. The city streets were no longer safe. But neither was she backing down. Marlene knew she had two choices: sit quietly with the evidence or burn the whole crooked empire to the ground. She chose fire. That night, she went live on every platform she could: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Her caption was simple. You wanted the truth? Here it is. With trembling hands but steady resolve, she laid it all out, every file, every video, every twisted secret Jason had handed her. She exposed how the Davenports paid off inspectors, mistreated staff, and used private surveillance to blackmail their enemies and even friends. She even included the confession video from the ex-employee who claimed to be paid to lie about her. Her inbox blew up. Thousands of people, some strangers, others former Davenport staff, shared their own stories. It became a digital rebellion. The hashtag Marlene was right took over the internet like wildfire. TV stations picked it up. News vans camped outside her apartment. Podcasts began doing deep dives. The public loved her. But that also meant the Davenports were livid. The next morning, 2 sharp knocks rattled her door. It was the police. Not to arrest her, but to protect her. Marlene Jones, we've been instructed to place you under protective watch, the officer said, scanning the hallway. There's a credible threat against your life. Of course there was. People like Davenport didn't lose quietly. Under surveillance and stress, Marlene was escorted to a safe house, an apartment somewhere far from the cameras, the noise, and the danger. But not far from the fight. From her safe house, she watched the empire fall apart on TV. Mrs. Davenport was caught yelling at reporters, her sunglasses failing to hide the panic. Mr. Davenport had vanished. Rumors flew that he was headed for the Bahamas. Their social media was a graveyard. Their endorsements dropped them. Their charity partners denounced them. Then came the warrant. It was official: arrest orders for both. Marlene wept. Not because she was sad, but because the lies, the gaslighting, the betrayal, they were finally over. A few days later, she was invited to speak on national television. Clean blazer, curly hair pinned up, she looked right into the camera and said, I wasn't just a housekeeper. I was a human being. And I was punished for doing my job too well. But not anymore. She smiled. And to everyone out there working thankless jobs, being mistreated, overlooked, or dismissed, I see you. And you're not alone. The studio erupted in applause. Her name was now not just a headline, but a movement. And the Davenports? They became a cautionary tale whispered behind closed doors. Marlene finally had peace. But more importantly, she had justice.